Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So today we are going to discuss some industrial problems. Yes, real life industrial problems about filter press. We have had these episodes of real life industrial problems earlier as well, and today also we have brought this topic of real life industrial problems related to the functioning or operation of filter press and the common industrial problems that are associated with filter press. It's very important to understand, if you are regularly working with filter press, that what are these problems that are generally associated with filter press in the industries, and how do you exactly approach the problem to solve it. Like, what are the steps you should take, or why the problems are occurring at all. So to understand the industrial problems, we would like to cite 5 major industrial problems that are very common in filter press. And to understand the problems, you need to know the filter press operation. We have made a video about that. We have given the link in the description box. So go down, pause this video, go down and see that video on filter press operation, understand the filter press operation, and thereafter come to this video to see the industrial problems related to filter press. And if you already know the filter press operation, then fine and well, because you would need that to understand the industrial problems that are associated with filter presses. So going straight away to the topic, the major problem with a filter press, as we know, is a leakage. Yes, cloth leakage, because of which during filtration the liquid that is sent through the filter press comes through the side of the plates or top of the plates, and instead of pressing the press fully, it tends to come out of the filter press, that is tends to leak out of the filter press. And similarly, while filter press washing, through air or through water, the liquid splashes out or the air leaks out of the system. To understand this leakages problem, the most important and determining experiment would be to pass air through the filter press, because air makes a heavy sound whenever there is a throttling or whenever there is a small passage through which air leaks out. Whenever air leaks out, it makes a heavy sound. High pressure air leaking out makes a heavy sound in the industry, and thereafter you can easily identify the point of heavy leakages wherein the air under high pressure is trying to leak out through that particular thin region that is offered to the air to leak out. So to identify leakages, air passing is important. Air is very important to identify the leakages in a filter press. Now, why do these leakages occur at all? We need to understand that. What are these leakages? Why are these leakages being caused? And how can we actually stop those leakages? To understand the problem of leakages, first of all, let me tell you that all these 5 points, all these 5 problems associated to the filter presses are somehow interlinked with each other. So leakages are interlinked with excessive pressure, leakages are also interlinked with hydraulic connections, and leakages are also linked with hole mismatch. Now this is very important, my friends. Understand this. The major cause of leakages is cloth damage. The major cause of leakages is cloth damage. So if your filter press cloth right here on the filter press is damaged, so what will happen if it is damaged? Filter press cloth is hanging, or somehow it is distorted in structure. What happens is it either pushes the liquid such that the cloth pushes the liquid out of the filter press, or it allows the passage of the liquid through the cloth. If the cloth is porous enough, if the cloth is torn off at a certain point of time, suppose this is a portion that is torn off in the cloth. So what happens is when the liquid comes in through here, moves in between the filter press, in between the two plates, and tries to filter itself through the cloth having a tiered portion gets a lesser resistance path, because no cake settlement or no cake deposition has occurred there, and the liquid tries to escape through that tear or through that hole or through that porous region, and what it does, it straight away escapes, and the purpose of the filter press is not served at all. There is no solid deposition on the filter press cloth is obtained, because the liquid is finding a less resistance path, finding a tear or a cut or a hole, and passes through the cloth and moves into the drain hole to go through the outlet. So whatever is incoming is outletting, and no separation of solids is taking place at all, because the filter press is having a leakage or a tear or a porous region through which the liquid is easily passing out and going into the drain and going through the outlet and exiting through the system without the separation of solids. So leakage is, first of all, cloth damage is one example where you will not see visible leakages, but your outlet will be as compared to the inlet, same as compared to the inlet, which means that the outlet is coming bloody, what would you say, opaque liquid, and not a transparent liquid wherein the solids have already separated out. So if your outlet of the filter press, is coming out to be a very opaque one or whitish in color or whatever it be, full of solids, full of suspended solids, if your outlet is full of suspended solids, unseparated solids, what does it mean? That the filter press operation is not served, and this is one of the major problems that the industrial filter presses do face due to excessive leakages in the cloth, because of which the solution passes through that leakage point and passes through the outlet with unseparated solids, and the filter press operation is not served. So this outlet suspended solids is directly linked to leakages. So there is a cloth leakage but not a visible one, and you would find that this is a major problem in industrial filter press when the cloth has been damaged. The other problem of leakages, if you say leakage or visible leakage through the side of the filter press, how does this occur? Like two plates are closed in, two plates are hanging into each other tight, holding up to each other, but still the water is sprinkling out or splashing out through the side of the plates or the top of the plates, top or bottom of the plates. The liquid is coming out. So what is happening in this case is the liquid is not at all passing through the filter press cloth and going to the outlet, but it is finding a lesser resistance path or somehow finding a hole or a gap in the system to exit out without even passing through the filter press cloth and moving into the outlet. So in that case, the liquid will splash out of the system and you will not get the outlet at all after a certain point of time, and that will also damage the filter press cloth by creating excessive pressure on the filter press cloth, because you are understanding that two presses, when they are closed with each other in high pressure contact, and even then the liquid splashes out of the corners of the filter press, then there is a heavy pressure developed on the cloth itself, and it's not getting enough space in the cloth itself and trying to pass out, escape out through other spaces. So in this case, the cloth is not porous, but you will have to understand, in this case, the visible leakage that we see through the splashing of the water or the filtration medium from the top or the side of the plates is primarily due to heavy cake deposition on the cloths. If the cake deposition is high on the cloths, we understand that there will be excessive pressure in the system and it will not allow further water to pass in or further filtration medium to pass through it because of the high resistance path. And at that point of time, this cake tries to push apart the cake deposition here will try to push apart the two systems against the hydraulic force that is trying to press the system, and in that case that will create a slight gap in the system, and through which the liquid will try to escape, and it will not pass through the cake because the cake is providing a high resistance path. So the resistance through the cake is extremely high and the resistance here is low, and so it escapes of the low resistance path. Here the cake deposition is a major problem. So you need to spot out, you need to find out that if your filter press is having an excessive back pressure, it is not allowing the entry of liquid at all, then there is a problem. There is a problem in your filter press and the cake deposition is at its maximum, and you need to stop the filtration operation and you need to start air washing or air drying in the system. So cake deposition is a major problem. Another problem of why the liquid escapes out of the system is due to hydraulic connections. This is another important problem. I told you that it is all interlinked. If your hydraulic connections is not proper, my friends. Now let us discuss simultaneously the problem of hydraulic connections. Hydraulic connections is primarily linked with the pressing of the filter press, that is the plates stacked in together under high pressure, and the drip tray opening closing, and the shifter plates to pull out the plates one by one of the system so that they can be cleaned and they can be set apart is done by a shifter which tries to pull up the plate one by one, and then we clean the system by pulling up the plate one by one. Now this system is supported by hydraulic connections, and hydraulic connections are basically pistons and oil. So there is basically plungers, pistons and oils. So what it does is it pressurizes the oil in the system, trying to push the filter press, trying to press open the drip tray, trying to move the shifter. So all these operations are carried out by the pressurized oil. So pistons, oils and plungers are the major systems associated with hydraulic connections in a filter press. And basically 4 plungers are there. 4 plungers are there which tries to create pressure on the oil so that they can further create pressure on the filter press. Now, how will you identify that there is a problem in your hydraulic connections? Hydraulic connections will identify by holding the oil pipelines, that is where the oil passes from, and trying to track a rhythm out of it. If the oil is passing in pulsations, very important, my friend. If you touch the pipeline of the oil, supposedly this is my plunger, this is my oil assembly, this is my power pack, this is my oil assembly, and the oil is pushed in the system. This is my press, so it is being pressed. Now this is my oil pipe, this is my oil pipe, and you touch the oil pipe. Physically you touch the oil pipe from outside, and it is having pulsations. Very important, it is having pulsations. If it is having pulsations, my friend, then the plunger is not performing up to the mark, which means out of the 4 plungers, at least 1 or 2 is gone, because of which you will have pulsations. If the 4 plungers are working simultaneously with each other, having a synchronic motion, when one plunger is pushing, another plunger is taking in and pushing an alternative action, what happens is you will feel the pressure in a constant stretch and you will not feel pulsations when you touch the pipe. So to detect hydraulic connection problem, the pulsations in the oil line is very, very important in determining factor. Now, if the hydraulic connections are not proper, if the oil pressure, my friend, is not generated, if the pressure is low, if the oil pressure is low, very important, if the oil pressure is low, automatically the press will not close fully, and whenever there is a cake deposition, the leakages will start occurring. So if the oil pressure is low, then leakages are more prone, and then the filter press is more prone to leakages, and the leakages tend to occur regularly in the system. So hydraulic connections should be checked from time to time. So we are done with leakages, we are done with hydraulic systems and how to detect them. Now we straight away move to the drying time. Very important, my friends. Sometimes we see that once the cake has deposited in the system, when we start air drying, we allow 6 hours, we allow 8 hours of time, and still the cake is wet after a certain point of time. The basic reason of this can be 2. What are the 2 reasons? If I rub this, as we have already understood this, what are the 2 reasons of drying time? In spite of giving a high drying time, the drying doesn't occur properly. Wet cake. The major determining, how would you determine this problem? Wet cake. By seeing if the cake, when opening, when we open the filter press, if we see the cake is still wet enough, we understand that it is a problem of drying. Now, why this problem has occurred? Again, interlinked, primarily due to leakages. And why this leakages? Because again, the air has not passed through the cake, but might have escaped out through this porous gap into the drain point and drained out of the system, firstly. Secondly, might have escaped from the side or the top of the plates and might have not even passed through the cake, and hence didn't carry out the moisture with itself, and the cake takes a sufficiently higher amount of time to dry itself off. So the primary problem is leakages. The leakages is a primary problem. Air leakage. Whenever we pass air through the system, it leaks out either through the cloth, through the drain point, or either through the top because of this hydraulic connection. So all are interlinked. So the drying problem is associated with air leakages through the system or from the system to the atmosphere due to several other reasons why leakages do occur. And wet cake is the significance, wet cake is the indication of that problem. Now what would you do? What would you do to increase the drying rate, to ensure proper drying? First of all, do not allow leakages, do not allow hydraulic problems. Secondly, most importantly, you will have to understand, many people do this flaw in the system. Whenever you pass air through one of the outlet holes, if you are passing air through this outlet hole, supposedly I am passing in air in, you will have to let the outlet of the air through this hole, which is diagonally opposite to each other. That is, when we allow the passage of air, supposedly I am allowing the passage of air through this hole, then I should allow the passage of air outlet through this, air out. That is diagonally opposite. Why it is so? Because that lets the air cover the maximum path or the maximum area while circulating in the system. Now the air comes in. Through the outlet, goes into the in between the two cloths, circulates through the entire cloth and the cake, dries the cake, and then carries out the moisture with itself and moves out through this hole of the system, which is diagonally opposite to itself. But many people, in fact, in our industry also, we did this problem of opening this hole and this hole as the outlet hole and this as the inlet hole. So what happens is air primarily finds the less resistance path in this hole and tries to pass out through this. But whereas it was meant to cover the entire cake and circulate through the entire cake and hence drying the entire cake, but that doesn't occur because we give a lesser resistance path through the air through this hole. So if one hole is opening here, the other hole should be opened here for air drying. Very important is which outlet holes you open. Outlet holes you open. So you should always open diagonally opposite outlet holes. Diagonally opposite. For air entry and exit. If air is entering here, it should exit here. Gone. Excessive pressure. Now this problem is again resulting in leakages. How is it linked with how is it resulting in leakages? Excessive pressure means excessive pressure developed on any one side of the filter press. Any one side of the filter press. And why does this problem exactly occur in filter presses? It's because of the less knowledge of the people who are operating the system. Now, what is the less knowledge or what are the problems that I'm talking about? If I rub this, what is the problem of excessive pressure? The problem of excessive pressure happens when the two plates are arranged such that the drain points of the two plates are lying in line with each other. That is, this plate also has drain points here, this plate also has drain points here on this side, on the left side, or supposedly on this side of the board, if I talk about the board significantly. So if the two drain points are in parallel to each other and these two pathways are blocked completely, so what happens is the liquid comes in through the hole, circulates in between the two filter presses and moves in through this section trying to escape. So we understand the problem, my friends. Very important, very important, that this side of the filter press, the other side of the filter press, is not at all having any incoming liquid or any cake deposition or any pressure as such. All the pressure is concentrated at the outlet and all the outlet is taking place from here. This is a major problem that the filter press operators do generally. Excessive pressure on one side of the filter press. The primary reason and the identification of it being the alignment of the drain points, alignment of consecutive plates. If two plates are kept such that the drain points are running in parallel with each other instead of left, right, if all are left, if two or three simultaneous plates are having the drain points on the left side or on the right side simultaneously, then that's a big problem because that creates a pressure or kick deposition only on one side and outlet is taking place only through one side and the even distribution of pressure is not occurring, because of which the clothes over time tend to tear or get heavier from that side and the cake deposition is more here, so it tends to tear off from there and the cloth damage is significant. So to avoid that, alignment should be proper. Alignment of consecutive plates should be proper. Hydraulic connections we have already discussed, and last but not the least, my friends, hole mismatch. If the holes are mismatching, my friends, supposedly the outlet holes, often we find out that the cloth is not aligning well with the outlet holes. What happens is, if the cloth is not aligning well with the outlet holes, it leaves a passage, it leaves a gap in the system from where the liquid tries to escape out. It tries to drain out of the system, and that's a major problem. So the holes of the consecutive plate should be aligned, and the cloth holes and the plate holes should align properly with each other with no gap in between. The cloth hole shouldn't be bigger than the what do you call it, the drain hole, and neither, or the outlet hole, neither it should be smaller than the drain hole. It should be of the same size as the drain hole, because if it is larger than the drain hole is this side and the cloth hole is of this side, so it exposes a bare part of the filter press, and no part of the filter press should be exposed, or the plates should be exposed to the incoming liquid, because that creates a chance of escape of the filtration medium without even separation of the solids. So the whole mismatch is a big problem. Apart from that, if you talk about the regular day-to-day activities, the cleaning tools that you use is very important. The cleaning methodology that you use is very important. For cleaning tools, the highly recommended tools to avoid leakages, to avoid this wear and tear of cloths is use of PP or polypropylene PP cleaning tools. That is, instead of using metal tools is a no-no. Use of polypropylene or plastic cleaning tools, high density polyethylene, HDPE or polypropylene to clean the medium would be highly recommended. Also, PP tools, as we know, is susceptible to acid attack and is not that reactive, and it survives acid, so it can be used readily. The PP tools can be used readily instead of metal tools to clean the cloths, so that when you clean the cloths, you do not cause damage to the cloths in itself. And the application of pressure while cleaning the cloth should be as minimalistic as possible. It should fall by itself. Instead of using a metal tool, you should ensure the cake falls by itself, because if it doesn't, then you need to apply pressure on the cloth, and that is not very good for the health of the cloth, because that causes wear and tear of the cloth. So regular cleaning, regular checking, and regular replacement of the filter press cloths is necessary, because over time filter press cloths do wear and tear, and that would not allow solids to separate at all if it does so. The alignment of holes is very important. The hole mismatch issue should be solved. The hydraulic connection should be checked from time to time, whether the plunger is operating properly or not, by touching the outlet oil pipe. So these are the problems, and this is how you identify them, and this is how you try to solve them. I've tried to discuss all the possible industrial problems regarding filter presses. I think that will be it for today. We will be bringing up more technical topics in the upcoming weeks. If you liked it, like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel. Thank you.